Hi everyone, this is David Dennis. This past Sunday on November 24th, I gave a report at the Executive Committee, and several people mentioned it would be good if other people in the conference were able to see these reports, and I thought that was a great idea. So I've taken to try to put these on a short little video with the photos that I've had, a little bit of commentary, and try to give a good report on some of the things that are happening here in Southern New England Conference. As I said, the Executive Committee met on the 24th of November, and this is one of the things that we do each meeting, is that I give a report on things that are going on within the conference. And so we go to the first slide, and this is kind of a personal slide. What you see pictured here is the Leominster All Nations Church. This was the church that, one of the churches that I was pastoring. I finally gave up being the pastor of the Leominster All Nations Church. It was on the third Sabbath in October. And when this church was planted, it was a small group of about 20 people, and now you can see how in 5 years it has grown. It was just a tremendously bittersweet day for me to have to leave. To see the growth, you see all the children, what a wonderful day it was, what a wonderful time it is with that church, but you see how they've grown, they're working hard, and I have only good thoughts for them. The next thing that we have pictured here is up at Camp Winnekeg. During the month of October, there was a week there where the 5th and 6th graders, about 98 of them from across our schools in the conference, gathered at Camp Winnekeg for outdoor school. Pat Geese, our educational superintendent, was there with quite a few of the teachers, and they were learning about nature using the outdoors as their classroom. Next slide, you see some of the students and one of the teachers there, Don Pollock, I believe his name is. He's the principal and teacher down at the South Shore School, helping out with the canoeing that went on. And then in the next slide, you see a couple of the students. They're from the Warren School, and I had a lot of fun taking that picture because Caitlin on the right there, I was at the hospital when she was born, so and there she is getting older and in school now. Then you see they were doing crafts, using the things of the outdoors to put together some craft projects. A lot of educational things going on. One of the things I did this past month is I went to Greater Boston Academy during the day. I had never been at GBA during the day. I wanted to see how the academy was worked. I wanted to see how the classrooms looked with students in them. And here's a picture of one of the classes. I believe it was Miss Wenth's class. I asked these young ladies if they wanted their picture taken and told them I'd put it on my president's Facebook page, and sure enough, they volunteered to be part of this picture. Sharp-looking uniforms, a new addition to the students at GBA this year. One of the other things that happened in education this past month was that Greater Boston Academy had its semi-annual constituency meeting, and you see here pictures of some of the people that led out in that constituency meeting. Picture on the far left is Fabio. He is in charge of the student life. He's the chaplain. He gave a wonderful report of how the combination of faith and service is taking over the students. It's a wonderful report that he gave. The next gentleman there is Ed Bradley. Ed is the school board chairman over there. He works very hard trying to keep the school going smoothly, and this combination of the school board and the hopes for building projects. He's got a lot on his plate, and he's doing a wonderful job. The next person there is Angela Walton. She is the principal there. She gave a wonderful report that night, talking about the glory of God, all the things that are going on, and that she just gives tremendous praise to God. She really trusts God. She's a woman of prayer. GBA should be glad to, and is glad to have her. And then Ed Seeley, he's the business manager. This man has a great passion for Greater Boston Academy and a passion to see Greater Boston Academy grow, as well as Edgewood too. Now the next picture that we see there is the education Board, or the Board of Education, they meet twice a year on a typical schedule. And this past month was one of those meetings, and it was a pretty standard meeting, but an important meeting nonetheless. Moving on to the next slide. One of the things I did this past month is I went down to visit the Maranatha Adventist Regional School, which is part of the Willimantic Church, or it's in the Willimantic Church. They're teamed up with the Rockville Church, and some of the other churches in the area help out with the cost of that schooling. What we see there is the teacher, Tammy Todd, on the far left. Tell you a little story about Maranatha. A week to 10 days before school started, they had one student signed up. Tammy Todd got in there and started recruiting, and within 1 week they had 13 students. What a miracle. You see Pastor Pinheiro off to the far right. Dana Beal is next to him. Marionette Owens is the new school board chairman, and then of course the teacher Tammy. The next slide is a really wonderful picture. I'm so glad to have this picture. On the far left, you have Ryan Simpson. Ryan is our associate youth director of the conference and works very hard with the young adults. He and I went down to Cambridge, and we met with a young adult group known as Stride. They are a supportive, independent ministry working within the borders of our conference. And what they do is that they work in the secular schools in Boston. Next to Ryan is Andrew, and then Daniela, who's their chaplain, and then Pablo is one of their leaders. These people are in the schools such as Harvard and MIT, Northeastern, Tufts, etc. They are in those schools. They have contacts there. They give trainings. They give education to the Adventist students that come from across the world, across the country, to be in these schools. These people at Stride are taking care of our Adventist young people. And they want to team up with the Southern New England Conference and find ways of cooperation. And we started to make that dialogue happen back in October. The next slide is from the Leominster English Church, Mark Gagnon's church, and this is a picture of a graduation ceremony that was had at the church. Pastor Mark had taught a class on witnessing and reaching out, going out into the community and sharing the good news to people, and all these people had come through this training and had gone on for 8-9 months, and this was the graduation day. You see them holding in their hands a baton, the type of baton that's used by track runners. And the symbolism of the baton is that when you've been given something, running the race, you have to then pass it along. And that is what he's trying to teach this group here, is that they've been given good news, they need to pass it along. The next slide is with our trust services and stewardship director, Tom Murray, on the right, and the other pictures of John Matthews. John Matthews is the stewardship director for the North American division. He and Tom were out at the Berkshire Hills Church, gave a whole day of seminars and worship, and it was a fine day, as I understand, a great blessing for the Berkshire Hills Church. Then we have a newspaper clipping. This comes from the Gardner Church. The Gardner Church is putting in a type of community service center, but a modified community service center, a place where people can come and spend time, relationships can be built. It's called the People's Place. It's being built in downtown Gardner, and there's going to be a whole lot more news concerning this place in upcoming reports. I can't wait to go up there myself and see what's going on. Then we have some pictures of some baptisms that were happening or have happened in the conference. Pastor Felix Mahub, who is down in Hartford, and Holyoke and the Willimantic Company, he's baptizing. And then also Pastor Van Silo over at Framingham and Waltham, he baptized, I believe it was 4 people, and one of the individuals came into the church through a profession of faith. What a tremendous thing to see people making this step to join the ranks of God's last day people. The next slide is a worship service that I was able to be involved in directly. It's down in Connecticut Valley. They celebrated their 25th year as a church out in South Windsor, Connecticut. Back in 1988, the Hartford Church closed and they moved out into the suburb of South Windsor. The school was out there at that point in time, and they built a brand new, beautiful facility, and they've been out there serving God in wonderful ways. And you see here the picture of the pastors as they've served from 1988 forward. From the far right side, you have Pastor David Thomas. He serves currently as the department chairman of theology out at Walla Walla University. And then there was John Audie that followed him. And then myself, I was there for about 8 years. And then Pastor Aina Ram. And then the current pastor, Pastor Tom Dombrowski. The next slide is at the Providence Ghanaian Church. This was the first Sabbath in October. What a great day this was. Choirs from across New England, even one from New York, came to open up this building, officially open it up for the first time as this new church was dedicated to God for the worship and the service of Him in the community. It was a great worship service. It went long, but it was not a boring time at all. It was just great to see the enthusiasm of God's people. The next slide is kind of some internal business that happened in the conference. You have pictured there two of our pastors, Pastor Ernan Norman, and Pastor Victor Perez. Ernan Norman pastors the Lowell All Nations Church, and Pastor Perez the Lowell Spanish Church. Well, the Lowell Spanish Church wanted to sell their building. Lowell All Nations wanted to buy a building. And we were able to transact some business between the two, and it made both congregations very happy. As you can see, both pastors are very happy. Now, the other side of being happy, of course, is being sad, and we are saddened by some of the losses that are felt within our conference. We had a period of about 10 days, and 3 of our pastors each lost a parent. Pastor J.R. John Baptiste, on the left, he lost his mother. His mother died down in Florida. And in the center there is Pastor John Perowski. His dad died. And Pastor Mark Gagnon, his mother died. One of our office staff, also Marjorie Santos, her father died this past month. So there's been a lot of hurt, and there certainly is some grief within the Southern New England Conference family. And I'd appreciate if you could keep these great servants of God in your prayer. And we have a picture of some of our newer pastors. From the far left, we have Pastor Dexter Jenkins. Then in the center, Pastor Hernandez. And then Pastor Francie Duran with his wife Joanne there, all new to Southern New England Conference. Then through the course of the months, the different pastoral groups get together for prayer and for praise and for planning purposes. And you see here a picture of the Spanish pastors within our conference, or at least many of them. They had met up at the Lawrence Church this past month. And then the Haitian pastors also met to plan and to pray and to look at the future work of the Haitians community within the Southern New England Conference. All very enthusiastic meetings. Something very unique that happened this past month is that I took a webinar. Interesting concept that's being put forth here by the North American Division, the ones who hosted this webinar. You see pictured there Pastor Alvin Kibble. He's the communication director, vice president at the North American Division, and he was talking about social media and the way it can help the church. Much more information on this to come in the future, but it's an amazing concept, the amount of information that can be gleaned and taken in and can become a positive thing for the church through social media. Now the next slide is a picture of a good portion of our office staff and their families. We took some time to have a social, and we were up on Mount Wachusett, a very kind of cold, chilly kind of day, but we had a lot of fun. It's important, I believe, that the office staff have social time together. We are trying to form and be a family, and it was a good day for us. But it's not only about social things. In the next slide, we can see we took the the office staff out to the college church to participate in the building and the construction of Thanksgiving baskets. One of the things that I've tried to stress immediately with the office staff is that we should be a team of people who work in the community. And we actually closed the office, shut it down for 2 hours, went over and worked. It was not a mandatory thing, but everybody did want to come over, and it was a great day of helping out the community of Lancaster and Clinton, and the great work that's being done by putting these Thanksgiving baskets together. I know that we're looking to do this once a quarter, and we're looking to reach out beyond the Adventist community and do it just within the surrounding communities of Lancaster. The next slide is an important meeting that happened at the Boston Temple. This here is some of the initial planning and talk that has started to go on concerning Boston, evangelism in Boston. It is written, the program, it is written, has a real desire to do a major outreach within the Boston area in the year of 2015. And we are starting the planning process with that. Our stewardship director, Tom Murray, helped and put this meeting together. Seated there are people from all sorts of groups. We have Scott Christensen from the Northern New England Conference. Northern New England is willing to come down and help us reach Boston. Also sitting there on the, it'd be probably toward the upper right side, is Daniel Honore. He's the president of the Northeastern Conference. Anything that gets done in Boston, there needs to be a cooperation of the two conferences working together. Also sitting at that table is the Review and Herald, as represented through the literature evangelists, and Nelson Rossi. We have Stride, as I mentioned earlier in the report, they're sitting there. Eric Flickinger from the NETS program on Atlantic Union College campus, he's there. We also have several pastors from both Northeastern Conference and the Southern New England Conference, all sitting there trying to figure out what can be done for Boston. And I should have said probably the most important person sitting there that day was a gentleman by the name of Yves Monnier from It Is Written. He made the trip across the country just to meet with us. That's how serious It Is Written is about doing a major event in Boston. Obviously, this is an ongoing story, and there'll be more to report in the upcoming months. The next slide is another thing that confirms to me that I think God wants something important to happen in Boston. The Hope Channel, Hope TV, is going to come to Boston. You can see there the footprint of where Hope TV will be broadcast throughout the Boston region, and it's all being done for a cost to Southern New England Conference of absolutely no money. All the money that has been donated privately or through the North American Division and the Atlantic Union have picked up the cost of this to bring Hope Channel to the Boston area for the next 2 years. Not sure the start date yet, but it's going to be for 2 years once it starts. The next picture is a piece of equipment, the new van that the ABC has purchased. Our new ABC director and manager, Sean Bellman, is very excited about reinstituting a kind of van ministry throughout the conference area, and he has this new tool that will help him that way. Now the next picture is from the lobby area of the General Conference building down in Silver Spring, Maryland. I was down there for the year-end meetings of the North American Division, and I'm not going to talk too much about the year-end meetings per se, but I just always find it very inspirational that before you walk into the meeting room, you see this sculpture. And all the sculptures have their eyes up toward the horizon. They're all looking for the return of Jesus. What a great reminder before any business is done to remind ourselves that the reason that we're here is to hasten the second coming of Jesus. All the business we do should have that in mind. And then the next picture is the beginning of the North American Division meetings. You see Dan Jackson sitting there with Alex Bryant next to him to his left as the meetings started. It was quite a set of meetings. A lot of information was passed. A lot of decisions were made. Probably the biggest report that was given was on the ordination of theology, and that was a a meeting that was held with the greatest respect and Christ-like character for a very emotional issue. It was just a wonderful thing to be part of, to sit there in that room and hear the seriousness and the spirit-led guidance that was going on. The next slide here is from the Board of Trustees meeting held at the Atlantic Union Conference building. This was concerning the Atlantic Union College, and the big thing that came out of that meeting is that a search committee has been put together to choose the next president of Atlantic Union College. So the plans for reopening the school, now putting in the administration for the new school or for the reopened school, all those plans are going forward as this Board of Trustees meeting worked toward. The next picture is from the NETS, the Northeast Evangelism Training School. I had taken some time to teach a few classes over there, and you can see some of the class or the classmates as they took in the information that I had written down. And then just a week and a half ago, the Northeast Evangelism Training School, NETS, opened up officially their building. It's the old Miles building on the campus of Atlantic Union College, and there was an opening ceremony, a dedication ceremony. One of the officials from the town of I should say not South Lancaster, but Lancaster itself, came, and he was very enthusiastic about the opening of this building. Talked brilliantly, I thought, about the possibilities and the education that goes on or will go on at this facility. Especially, he was very concerned about the health type evangelism and the reaching out to the community. He was very classy in the report he gave. Then you can see some of the people there, the crowd that was gathered on that day. The next slide is Pastor Eric Flickinger. He is the director of NETS. He gave some appropriate remarks and thanking people for coming out, and also talking about the program as it moves forward. And then finally, the last picture of the NETS meeting is we have here Alvin Kibble shows up in the report again. He came in to do the opening ribbon cutting ceremony. He's there with Dr. Don King of the Atlantic Union as they cut the ribbon, and the Miles building now is officially open, and NETS has its own home. And then finally, just a couple personal notes. This past October, the last Sunday of October, I ran my 13th and finished my 13th marathon, and it was down in Washington, D.C., where the finish line was at the Marine Corps Memorial up by Arlington Cemetery. That's the 8th time I've run that marathon, the Marine Corps Marathon, and you can see my finisher medals. Your conference president likes to run, try to keep in some shape, not always sitting behind a desk or at a meeting or something like that. Get out there and do some exercise. And finally, just a reminder that a lot of this information can be gotten real time on Facebook. I try to update things at least once a day, if not every other day. I've got a president's page, and also the Southern New England Conference has its own page for more generic things that I might not be personally involved in. Well, this is a new try here to put this information out to the constituents of our conference. I hope that you've enjoyed this report. I hope it was informational to you. I know I'll learn how to do this better and bring you the type of information that will hopefully have your heart praising God for the wonderful things that He's doing in Southern New England Conference. I thank you for your faithfulness and the joy that you bring to your worship in each of your churches as we seek to grow and hasten the second coming of Jesus. May God bless you, and thank you for taking the time to look at this report. Bye now.